cynicism is ultimately, I think, a mistake that we make in our minds. And so the solution must come from there as well, right? At least it must start there. The monk that you referred to is the great monk and writer Pema Chodron. And in one
Yes.
of her books, she
Yes.
says, we can treat our lives a little bit more like an experiment. We can pause the usual cycle and observe more intently what's happening inside us and between us as well, I would add, right? And I think absolutely that's where I try to begin and where I think a hopeful skeptic can begin. We've been talking about ways to interrogate our cynical beliefs, um, to ask ourselves, what evidence do I have for this? We've also talked about, I think, one great way of saying, well, can I collect better evidence? And one way to do that is to take these leaps of faith on people, right? And I'm not saying you have to share your bank information with a prince who's going to wire you $14 million or anything like that, right? This is more small, calculated risks that we take on other people to see what they show us, right? And
Mm.
remember that what the risk that you take on somebody else will also change what they show you. If you put faith in them, and to the degree that you do, they will probably reflect that back to you. But I think, to your point, another critical part of this is not just to do stuff, but to reflect as we do stuff, to be open to the evidence that comes in. Because one really easy place to land is that you put faith in somebody and they come through for you and you say, oh, that was nice. And then you kind of forget it. And then you do that 10 more times and you forget all 10 of them. And then you do it once more and it goes poorly and you remember that for the rest of your life. Right. I mean, I have this with my teaching evaluations. I teach a 500-person class at Stanford, and typically something like 490 of the course reviews are positive. And then, of course, 3 weeks later, I'm trying to fall asleep and I'm thinking about the one negative review. Like, what problem does this person have with that shirt? What? I can't choose what shirt I wear? Come on, I'm a grown man. So I think that we have this tendency, even if we are collecting good data, to not record it very well. And that's where I think deep awareness comes in. One thing that I did that I write about in the book and that I encourage other people to do, I call encounter counting. That is, treat your experiences with other people, I'm not saying forever, but say for a day or a week, like a field experiment. Put faith in people, take chances in people, whether that's striking up a conversation with a stranger, confiding in an acquaintance, giving somebody at work some responsibility that you normally wouldn't give them, just trusting them. Do it loudly. Tell them, hey, I've got a lot of faith in you, or I really trust you, so I'm going to bring this up. I hope that's okay. But then don't just let the situation play out. Write down how it played out. Write down, and even better, bonus points, before you put faith in somebody. Write down how you think it will go, and then write down afterwards how it actually went. It turns out that in dozens of studies in social psychology, when people ask folks to forecast what a conversation will be like, where they ask for support or try to connect with a stranger or express gratitude or whatever, they ask people to forecast what those conversations will be like. Then they have a separate group of people actually have those conversations. And the two are worlds apart. People imagine that their conversations with others will be cringeworthy and awkward and terrible and not very productive. People who actually have those conversations, sometimes reluctantly, end up thrilled that they occurred. So there's a disjunction between what we expect and reality, and it's a positive disjunction. We
Mhm.
don't realize how good things will be. So don't just have those conversations. Try to pay close attention so that you're less surprised the next time. Try to bring your expectations up, not above reality. Don't be overly optimistic, but bring them up from where they are, which is probably overly pessimistic, up to something more accurate.